My compatriot over here is dead before we've even started.
I'm sorry.
You just
I'm
think
sorry.
you're so excited for that exam?
No, thanks. Actually, it's gone now. It's totally
It's gone. The
It's
excitement
gone.
is gone.
I'm good now.
Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Send Them Off. Joined by always and almost always having an exam, Devin Reader. I'm Tom Cloutier. Welcome to an interesting episode as we have all the teams that are going to be in the World Cup, but we will get to that later, as usual, starting off with some Premier League.
Decidingly smaller coverage this time.
Yeah, mostly it's going to be a very geocentric
I like it.
show.
I like it.
But the big game this weekend in the Premier League, the North London derby, Arsenal-Tottenham. Devin, for you, who needs this game more? To whom does this game mean the most?
I think that's the best part about the fact that it's a derby is we don't for a second you forget standings and it's not.
It's just they need to win. Yeah,
they need to win. There is no. Oh, we're in second place or we're in third place right now.
If they were
this many points back out of a position, it doesn't matter.
One was already relegated and the other already champions. They'd still want to kill each other.
There's no that's probably the greatest part. I'm actually, when's this game on? I'm gonna watch it.
I believe Saturday morning.
Yeah, but whatever. We'll figure that out later.
Figure it out. We don't have the exact time.
You got to do the whole translation to the U.S. time thing.
It's probably the 7:30 game. I hope not.
I hope not to.
Well, it's actually probably like a 9:30, 10:30. That's what they usually do for the big games.
But no,
regardless.
Ignoring the fact that it's a derby, just kind of toss it out the window, which is the main attraction of this entire game. Tottenham, you could argue, needs this more because if they want to give themselves a shot at any sort of title contention, they need to win. Arsenal on
the title is still possible. It's just unlikely.
Very unlikely. But if they continue to drop points, then it goes from unlikely to so
can
impossible.
We still be in the Champions League?
Yeah. It becomes a different dilemma. So for them, they need to win. But then you look at Arsenal and go, okay, so they kind of are still hovering around. They haven't looked as, separated at the back. In recent times,
they looked like they could actually defend recently.
Yeah, they've looked a little bit more cohesive and stuff like that. So that's good. But
as long as they start Lacazette, throw back to a couple weeks ago, they'll be fine.
This is big for both teams for different reasons. Tottenham because they want to make a title run. Arsenal, obviously, at this point, title run doesn't really seem even possible. But you would think they want to get back into a top
even. With Leicester being one game away from winning the title, their title run still didn't seem possible. So,
yeah, I guess that's a fair point. But I just mean looking at everything right now. This is not their goal right now. Cannot be win a title. Their goal has to be get back into a Champions League spot.
Get fourth. Get the usual Arsenal fourth again.
Right, and then look to do better maybe next year in the Champions League or something like that. But for now, they have to get back to there. Tottenham is still has done well in the Champions League. Now they have to. They fixed the problems from last year. Last year they were domestic, great. They didn't win the title, but they were great. Yeah. Really bad in Europe. This year, they won the group, right? Essentially, at this point,
pretty much.
Yeah, you would think with the remaining teams and everything like that, they've won their group.
Unless Dortmund suddenly decides to show up in the Champions League.
Right? Yeah, but this is in a group that you said they're probably not going to make it. They're going to be the third team out of the three big teams.
We were
in that
all
group.
Looking at Madrid and Dortmund ahead of them.
Yeah, and now they're on top of the group. So for them, that's a great step in European play, but they've kind of taken a step back in their domestic play. You can blame that on Wembley. You can blame that on whatever you want, but the fact is they haven't done. You can blame
it on the
fact
that Harry Kane doesn't know how to score in August.
That too. That too. It could be any of those things. But this game's really big. I'm just excited. It's a derby.
For me, I would say that this game is probably bigger for Arsenal, actually.
Really?
Because Tottenham, every game they play in at this point is going to be a big game for the fact that they need pretty much maximum points on the way out to give themselves a title chance. So it's still a bigger game because it's a derby and it's against a better team, but when every game feels like the same level of importance almost.
So you're saying in comparison to Arsenal's other games.
Arsenal, when they play a Watford,
who's done amazingly well this year, by the way.
Yeah, but when they play a team like a Watford or Brighton or something like that, it's not quite as important because they're their season is no longer really dependent on we need to get as many points as possible. I mean, yes, that's the goal, is still get as many points as possible, but they really need to get the big ones, especially against your crosstown rival. Like, I think this game means more to Arsenal, especially since they kind of need that push. We haven't really seen them have that stellar game yet, and they need that big win, I think, in order to kind of really make a case for being top 4 this year.
Right. Okay. That's fair to me.
All right, we're already done with Premier League. It's a really weird show.
Yep.
We're moving to La Liga, which our resident expert, Tom McCulkus,
Rest in peace.
Oh, wait,
still
lost.
he's dead to me now.
Yeah.
He's not dead yet, but he's dead to me.
He's still lost. We put his face on a milk carton, they still haven't gotten any results back.
Sent out an Amber Alert, everything.
Yeah,
just can't find him.
His boys, Los Blancos, Real Madrid, traveling to the new Atletico Stadium in the Madrid derby, the very derby central weekend.
Hey man, I love it.
But
we still got other ones.
Yeah, but this is a huge game in La Liga. Both teams on 23 points, I think. They're tied for third, 8 points behind Barcelona. So do you think, with that being said, if either team loses this, like whoever loses, are they completely out of the title race?
I mean, I would argue that if somebody doesn't win this game,
they're both out.
They're both like, somebody has to win this game for someone to have a shot, and if they draw or lose,
well, Valencia's still got a shot in second.
Oh yeah, no, Valencia, but they're not playing.
Valencia.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, I think if Real Madrid were to lose this game, I would still give them. I mean, obviously, it's a really it's a long shot, but I would still give them a chance at finding a way to pick up points in game just because of the quality they have. We've talked about this before, where their finishing hasn't been there. And you're like, you look
all
at
around the season, they really haven't been there. Ronaldo has what, one goal in 14 games played this year, something like that.
I mean, it's just been really interesting. But Atletico has been like simultaneously just as poor. And I mean, if you look at their European play, it's been even worse. So I mean,
a nightmare.
Yeah. So I think if Atletico, I mean, let's look at this. If you draw, they both draw here. You and Barcelona wins, and you're 8 points back. 10 points back.
Each team is now 10 points back.
At least 4 games.
Right.
Where Barcelona has to
You could win 9 games and still lose by 1. Right. Still lose by 1 point, yeah.
Right. So that I think puts them in a really tough spot. Like, someone has to win to stay within 8.
You need Barcelona to basically lose 4 games.
Yes. Not draw.
They need
them to lose.
That's a season total for them, let alone the rest of the 2/3 that are remaining of the season.
Right. So if someone doesn't win this game, neither of these two teams, I think, can make a run feasibly because they don't have enough. And I mean, I don't know how many times each of them have to play Barcelona left. Like, I think Barcelona may have played.
Barca's played Atletico once.
Right? Yeah. So they have to play Real. Did they play Real?
I don't think El Clasico has happened yet. I think
so. There's still 2 games left for that. So assuming Real Madrid finds a way to win both of those at 6, so we start playing a numbers game. It's going to be really difficult. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult.
Get ready for that exam.
Someone, I'm just repping it. I'm ready. But someone needs to win this game. Somebody needs to win, or they're both out, essentially.
Would you say that if Real were to lose, they would have a better chance than if Atletico loses?
Yes, I would definitely say that for sure.
Even how poor Real's been this year?
Even given
I think if either team loses, they're pretty much out.
Yeah.
Draw, maybe they're still okay because you still get a point.
But it doesn't. I mean, I guess that puts you with three wins on a Barcelona loss, and then they draw somewhere. And, you know, it puts it in different scenarios. But it's still.
Either way, it's highly unlikely. Even if whoever wins, it's still unlikely. You're still most likely going to be 8 points behind.
I don't know. This will be a good chance, though. It's a Madrid derby. You know, these teams are coming back from an international break. Everyone has either made or hasn't made the World Cup.
You no longer have the players that are like, I've got 1 game left to try to get my country into the World Cup, and now that's ragging on their mind.
Yeah.
Although some of them will have the hangover if they were in a playoff or anything like that.
So it's
lost.
Yeah.
Their morale might be a little down.
Yeah. So this is definitely, I think, hopefully for both of these teams, in terms of a title push, someone needs to win, and the winner stays in contention. The loser drops out.
I think this might be, for that reason, this might be the biggest game, like pretty much anywhere this weekend.
I feel like that's a fair assessment.
Because Arsenal Tottenham, we discussed, it's not really quite the same.
Right.
It's the game for the Madrid derby. That's basically an ultimatum game.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a champion? Do you want to have a chance at being a champion? Win. You got to win.
Yeah. Do you want a chance to like pull a miracle?
Do you want to? Do you want to have a chance at making a chance?
Yeah. So, I don't know. So, but then we discussed derbies, and there's another one in a different league.
Another derby, and yet another different league. In Rome, good old Roma. Mm-hmm. Roma host Lazio, although host is a bit of a oxymoron given
it's their stadium.
They play in the same stadium, so it's like it's like Milan. It doesn't matter.
Home crowd.
Either way, it's the same.
Hey man, I assume they do something with the tickets to make it so you feel like you're playing.
It's probably like 60-40 split.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. All the from when I've been there, all the sections are glassed off of each other because they've had too many fights. That's a fun fact.
Glorious.
Even for a game against Empoli, as I got to witness, what a absolute empty stadium that was. Anyways, our Roma Lazio 4 versus 5, another big matchup.
Yeah.
Lazio is only 1 point ahead in fourth. To be fair, at this point, did we really expect to see Lazio being in fourth and ahead of Roma? I don't think we did. But do you think this is probably the biggest Rome derby in at least recent times, given that both have finally found success?
I mean, I think that says it all. Like the fact that this is not like a crosstown rival where one of you is doing well and the other one's kind of there.
This is a 6-pointer and a crosstown rivalry.
Right. And this also, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume that in Serie A, top 4 teams
are in Champions League, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe it's the same as the Premier League, where top 3 are automatically in, and the other one goes to the playoff.
So you look at these two teams. One of these
it's a top 4 6-pointer.
Yeah, like if one of these teams is in a Champions League position for next year, and one of them is not, you can argue the way the Serie A is going and how closely competitive. Juventus and Napoli and Inter Milan and
Roma, even
and
Lazio and Roma.
Yeah,
Roma's still only, I want to say, 4 points back.
Yeah, so you look at this and you go, winner can make a title run from 4th and 5th place, and you put yourself in a better position to secure a Champions League spot. Of course, it's still early in the season, but there's a lot at stake here. This is a tone setter for the rest of your season going into the holidays and everything like that. So. I think this. I would argue that with you, and I agree with you that this is one of the biggest.
I mean, it's been a long time since either one of the, well, not either one, since both of these teams have had a meaningful season at maybe not at this point in the season, because 11 games in, it's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
We start to see who's really going to be contenders, but this is, I mean, again, pretty much Lazio has been really down for the past few years, and then I think before that Roma didn't really hit their stride yet.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a flip flop, a little bit streak here, streak there for who's taking them. But this is gonna be a great game as well.
Hey, someone gets to win in their home stadium though, unless there's a draw.
I was just saying,
unless there's a draw. But there's a better.
That would
chance.
Be really disappointing.
Actually, that'd be really, really sad.
Somebody gets to win in their home stadium, even if they're the away team.
Yep. All right, so moving on to another not derby, unfortunately. Unfortunately,
we're gonna talk about one non-derby today.
Yeah, Napoli and AC Milan. I assume this is what this abbreviation is.
Yeah, I only for reference, I only put abbreviations on the sheet, so that's why I almost called Roma Arsenal for a second.
Yeah. So we've discussed Napoli a lot this year for various reasons, Champions League success or lack thereof, and then
pour one out.
Yeah, and then their title run in the Serie A.
It's almost amazing how, I don't want to say bipolar, but how complete opposites their form is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, what can you say other than the fact that this is the Serie A, this is where they've been performing, and so they're playing AC Milan, who is I think 7th or 8th.
They're 7th.
They're 7th.
They're 7th on like 19 points. So
right, so they're further back.
Yeah, they're like 9 points behind 5th place Roma.
This is still a solid upper mid table squad.
Right.
And in a very competitive Serie A this year. So, can they afford to drop any points?
I mean, obviously, you would want to say no, given that they're 1 point ahead of Juventus. But, I mean, in a long-term sense, I think they're okay as long as they don't lose, like to minimize how many points you drop. I don't see Juventus being as good this year as far as, like, oh, they're basically going to have 2 draws for the rest of the season to not lose. Like, I think Juventus will draw points this year. Especially since their defenders are getting older and older. Like, they've been so solid at the back for so long, but number one, you're running the same thing in the back for so long. They're going to figure
someone's
out.
Someone's going to break it down, yeah.
And also, they get older and older. I mean, 3 of them have just retired from the national team because Buffon, Barzagli, and I believe Chiellini have all
they all did.
Yeah, they've all retired from international duty, and that's
on a separate note. I think Bonucci did as well.
Bonucci left.
Yeah, I know he's not there anymore, but he also retired. I think.
I don't think so. Maybe a little younger, so maybe not. He might stick around for another one.
I just remember reading the list of names.
Then De Rossi was the other one.
Oh, that's it.
What a class guy, by the way.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can save some time to highlight him at the end.
Yeah.
Give some love to people.
We'll get there later.
Yeah. Class act. But, so you're saying that Napoli can draw if they don't lose, as long as they don't lose, mainly because if you lose, you got a whole other heaps of problems that come with the mentality of losing the game.
You just lost.
Yeah. But losing and dropping those 2 points in a draw to an AC Milan team, that's not at the top of the table, but is certainly very solid this year.
They're a quality team. Yeah. One of the best goalkeepers probably in Europe.
Yeah.
And he's like 19.
So you're saying that if they do that comparatively to a Juventus team that is not as strong as they have been, this still gives them a chance.
Yeah. It's not the case of what we've seen in the past few years where, they drop a couple points and Juventus overtakes them. It's over.
Yeah.
End of the season.
Okay.
I don't see that being the case. I also think Juventus late season, I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to have the opposite of usual, where recently they've had, past like 3 seasons, they were losing at some point. Like they were losing being in second place.
Yeah.
At some point in the season, and then just kick it on right at the end.
You're not first, you're last.
And win like 7 games in a row to close out the season. I don't see that happening this year. And I also think, I'm pretty sure there's 2 more Napoli-Juventus games themselves. So
yeah.
Technically, as long as they stay within 6 points, if they win those games, like they're right there.
It's still in their hands, in a sense, for Napoli at least. And then, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I want to obviously look at this and go, no, if they want to win a title, you can't drop points. But
don't go in dropping points. Don't go, we'll play for a draw. You're at home against Milan. But
yeah, like go in for the win. But if you get a draw, you have to go, we need to be better. However, it isn't the end of the world.
Silver linings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so moving on to part of the reason why the World Cup final stadium is behind us, and I'm not going to pronounce the name of it. It's in Moscow. That's all you need to know. It's like some L thing with a bunch of random vowels. The World Cup is set as far as teams.
Okay.
The final 9 teams have been determined. We've talked a lot about this over the past month or two. And the European playoffs, which we discussed at length last time, Switzerland has advanced 1-0 over Northern Ireland. Very boring, low scoring. Kind of what we saw coming.
Yeah.
Croatia 4-1 over Greece. Just
not what we saw coming.
Just sat on the first leg result.
Yeah.
Denmark 5-1 over Ireland.
We will get to that. That was not. I was not prepared for that.
As usual, watching it in my class, and again, don't do that, kids.
Yeah.
But, and Sweden 1-0 over Italy, the biggest shock, the biggest result.
Yeah.
Italy misses out on the World Cup. But first, let's highlight the teams that made it through. So first, Switzerland over Northern Ireland.
It's funny. This was this was the closest tie in which we predicted the correct winner.
Yeah.
Right? And we didn't see that coming. Right? We were like, oh, Switzerland should definitely beat this Northern Ireland. Like, they should make it. And they did.
The one we thought was going to be a whitewash was close.
Yeah. So, I mean, Switzerland's through. I think it was a pen.
Oh.
I think it was a pen. I think it was a handball in the box pen.
Oh.
So it was definitely.
Was it Shaqiri?
No, I don't think it was Shaqiri that took it.
That's upsetting.
I can't.
It
might not.
It
might not be. I just remember I couldn't watch all the games. I remember watching a bunch of highlights.
I was more focused on watching Croatia.
Yeah. But this is what we expected. Maybe not in the same style that we expected it in.
Do you think that it's going to bear any impact on actually in the World Cup? I know there's a long time until the actual World Cup, but do you think the lack of kind of dismissing Northern Ireland, who's probably the weakest team there,
Well,
one of the Irelands is.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue with you that Northern Ireland was still they sat deeper. It's
their
hard to break.
Their entire game plan pretty much in qualifying was concede as little as possible.
Right. And, I mean, they did. They conceded one goal.
Yeah.
They couldn't score.
They have no idea how to find the net, though.
But they only conceded one goal. So, maybe this was not so much
fair, they don't have much for attacking options. So.
Yeah. But maybe this wasn't so much Switzerland being poor as it just was a matchup of styles and them sitting back really deep. And Switzerland got the goal that they needed, and they didn't want to push for another one, risk leaving themselves open. Right. There's a whole tactical, battle going on in the two legs. Yeah, the game within the game. And so I don't think this will be like a hindrance or like a mental block for Switzerland come World Cup.
The World Cup is pretty much all dependent on who you draw.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes for them.
Right.
Okay. So Tom, I just want to sit back. I usually you ask me the questions, but Croatia 4, and Greece 1 aggregate. But as we discussed in our last episode, we talked to all
4-1.
Yeah, we talked about all the goals that were scored in this leg. First of all, how do you feel that Croatia did this in such a good fashion? I guess? Do you think they did it in a good fashion?
I mean, the first leg was a good fashion. I understand kind of like I watched maybe 10 minutes of the second game and realized it was going to be let's just pass around the ball until the final whistle blows. So not a huge fan of that as a spectator, but I also understand it. You don't wide push forward and attempt risk conceding, as we were talking about with Switzerland. Why push forward and risk conceding when you're through? Yeah. And much more comfortably than Switzerland was. So I understand it. It's a little disappointing, but they looked lights out in the first game. And I mean, to be fair, Greece looked not great. Yeah. It wasn't all Croatia. It's just what a quality team this is. They are a quality team, but Greece,
it was a bit of both.
Yeah, Greece did not look like they came to play. And they didn't really look like they came to play in the second leg either. I was actually disappointed at the showing from the Greece players in the second leg. From what I only watched a little bit of the game because it was mostly Croatia just possessing the ball and moving it around. Right. But Greece did not look like they were trying to push it in any way, shape, or form. They did not look like they cared. Oh. Which is upsetting.
Yeah, that is upsetting. So Croatia puts themselves in what position of drawing?
They're in pot 2. We'll get to that.
Yeah. I just was double checking with that. So how do you think this kind of feeds into their chances now that they won this playoff?
I think again, it's all dependent on what draw you can get. Mm-hmm. But being in pot 2, it's pretty much expected the teams from pot 1 and 2 will advance. That is the expectation. They are the best 2 teams in each group in theory. I think they shouldn't have any problems advancing to the knockout stage. Winning the group again depends on who's in their group. There are a lot of tricky group pot 3 and a couple tricky pot 4 teams in there that they could end up drawing.
That's going to be fun to discuss the ifs, but So
so it really depends on the draw as usual, but I don't see them having too many problems advancing from the group as long as they show up and play. I mean, they scored the first goal in the 2014 World Cup, so. Why not?
True. Okay, so
Granted, it's an own goal. I will say that. But
all right, so before we haven't got to the biggest surprise, but this is perhaps the biggest surprise scoreline with the same predicted winner.
Right.
I would just like to point out that I guessed the right number of goals.
Just not the right order.
Right.
I'd like to point out that I, for a long time, thought I was going to nail it on the head. Because what we're discussing here is Denmark 5-1 over Ireland. That was all in the second leg.
The exact opposite of the Croatia-Greece.
Yeah.
tie.
You predicted 4-2 Denmark. I predicted 2-1. It was 2-1 for like 30 minutes. And I thought at that point Denmark was just going to sit on it and I was going to nail it. But no, instead Eriksson basically went off.
Yeah.
He showed his class. But
I was gonna talk to you about that.
Ireland did not look like they knew what defending was.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you about that. I think last time I think you made the remark the Fighting Erikssons or something.
Yeah, the Fighting Erikssons. I mean, I hate kind of
highlighting one
player and making it seem that the rest of the team doesn't matter, but at the same time, there are players that are stars, and this man won this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's the reason that this result happened, and
he just mostly an incredible awareness of where to be on the pitch.
Yeah,
that was incredible. What was it? 2 of the goals were just he ended up with the ball and just went, well, I'll put it in, and then and they were every one of his hat trick was an amazing finish too. He had 2 outside the box, let me stick this in the top corner, and then the other one, it bounced around the box. Really shambolic defending, but that's the point. He just runs up outside the foots it right into the top right corner. I was like, what is this man doing?
Yeah, but I mean, perhaps not the most shocking results, maybe, but that's all that really needs to be said about a Denmark 5.
Promising
Ireland
for Denmark.
Yeah, promising
really
for Denmark.
Disappointing for if you're an Ireland fan, because that
Denmark,
was at home for Ireland.
Denmark is a third.
I believe they're in the third pot.
We'll get to that, but this is just
we'll look at it later.
Yeah. Okay, so the one that we thought for the biggest chance
it was the biggest matchup.
Yeah, we thought this was the biggest chance for the one not predicted to go through, and it happened. We still thought Italy would go through, but Sweden 1-0 over Italy.
I want to highlight the point as what I talked about the Greece players before. In the second leg, because this was first leg was the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. In the second leg, Italy did not play Insigne, a man who has, I'm not going to come up with the exact number, but he has something like 10, 11 goals in 9 games. In last 9 games, total all comps, and they sat him for the full 90 minutes of a game in which you need to score and win.
Yeah.
And then the Italy manager was confused as to why he got fired this morning.
Yeah.
Saying that I've only lost 2 games in 2 years. And I'm like, credit, but you also completely neglected to understand how to win a game when it mattered the most. So.
Yeah, you played for a draw when you needed a win. Yes, you didn't lose. But that's like saying the bomb didn't blow up, but I didn't defuse it. I moved it to a location where it would kill less people. That is what you've done.
I minimize damage control.
Yeah, you didn't lose it, but you didn't win it. And getting to the World Cup, you need to win.
Yeah, you can't. You're not going to qualify if you just went into all through the group qualifying thing, and you just went, oh, let me just play for a draw, and you got 12 points or however many games you play. You got I think it's 10.
And to be fair, their group stage was difficult because they were with Spain. They were Spain. Spain
who's actually good again after that shambolic, which is one of my favorite words you may have noticed. 2014 World Cup in which Casillas suddenly dropped from world class to average.
Yeah, the decline. But. You feel for the Italian players, and everyone around the world has been just. We've seen the video of the interview of Buffon at the end of the game, and literally, I don't think there's a single football fan in the world that looks at that and doesn't feel a little bit of a heartstring pull.
I'm devastated about Buffon, this man who's given so much time. So much time to the game in the sense that this man has been around for so long and has been world class for most of it.
Yeah.
And his last game is getting knocked out to Sweden. Sorry, Sweden, but
they did well. They did well.
Yeah,
they did very well.
We're
not dismissing
that,
Sweden.
Sweden did really well. They're going to be a dangerous team. I believe they're also a pot 2 probably.
No, I think they're pot 3.
We'll look at this later. We need to stop guessing this and just get to it eventually.
False information.
Yeah, false information. But they played really well. They did what they had to do. But it's upsetting to see all the Italian players that are retiring. We mentioned earlier it's mainly Buffon, Chiellini, Barzagli, De Rossi, possibly Bonucci.
Yeah.
And De Rossi, we're highlight the good man.
Yeah.
De Rossi. He was amazing. I want to just credit to this man for two different instances. One, he was about to be subbed on during the game, and he is queer. Like, there's video of him being really confused and mouthing over to the bench saying, "Put it in Insigne," because like they need to score and not put in a CDM. But like this man was willing to sacrifice what could be his last international game
to give his chance to win.
To win.
In which case it wouldn't be his last one. So I guess there's that. But
he still or give the team the best chance to win.
Yeah.
And then also after the game, he apparently approached the Sweden players on the team bus before they took off and congratulated them personally, and also apologized to them for the Italian fans booing them,
I think during their national anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they just booed them all over the place.
Yeah, but
I don't think they stopped booing.
Yeah, they booed them during their national anthem, and even Buffon is seen on video clapping through the entire thing. I mean, so like Sweden did amazing, but it still hurts the heart to look at all these world class and classy players and people not get to go to the next World Cup.
The Italian national team is probably one of the classiest national teams, which is a weird thing to say, but it really is. They've always had the culture of, we're good, but we're going to be a little bit humble about it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Germany, who's like, we're going to put up 7 and we give up a goal and we're pissed.
Yeah.
So and better.
you can argue which one is better, which one's worse, but we're not going to get into that. Interconfederation.
Keep going. More playoffs.
Yeah, more playoffs, but this time it's
the less interesting ones.
Yeah, the South American and Central American, or CONCACAF and CONMEBOL, is that
CONMEBOL.
CONMEBOL, playing the Australia from the Asian, and then from the Oceania, you have New Zealand. So
always New Zealand. It's never going to not be New Zealand from Oceania now that Australia moved, but that's the point.
It's just reporting it. So Australia. I think this was also all in the. This was all.
Actually, both of these, there was 0-0 in the first legs. I don't understand why they're just like, hey, let's have one of these. Let's make it really interesting for the fans, guys.
Yeah. It was. I mean, so Australia wins 3-1 over Honduras.
Not surprising.
We kind of another one of those that went the way that we thought it was going to.
Tim Cahill coming back for his 4th World Cup. Same number as Pele. That man is God.
Oh my. Okay. So I would just like to highlight that all 3 of Australia's penalties were from set pieces, and not like corner kick set pieces or cross set pieces. One was a really close direct free kick just outside the box that deflected off of a Honduras defender and into the goal. The other 2 were pens.
Fun.
Both of them, I think, by their center back.
And not Tim Cahill? I have questions.
Maybe it was Tim Cahill, and I just don't know what Tim Cahill looks like.
Tim Cahill has moved from striker to CDM.
Maybe it was
in
Tim
the past,
Cahill.
4 years.
Maybe it was Tim Cahill then. But 3-1 over Honduras. Expected.
For Honduras.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's not like the hardest draw because it's predetermined. It's not like a drawing process. It's just, okay, this winner plays that winner. But, that's
Australia's
kind of unfortunate for them. Yeah. Australia is a team that should be in the World Cup consistently.
Yeah.
Honduras made it last World Cup, so I don't want to say I don't feel too bad because they were just there, but it's promising at least that you're clearly they are the quality to be there.
Yeah.
They shouldn't feel too bad. They kind of got the short end of the stick. Yes, you could say they didn't perform, but that is a hard ask, especially when 0-0 at home. Then they have to go play Australia away.
Yeah, and maybe you chuck that up to not getting what they needed done at home, or of course we don't know what every manager's
the problem
doing
with
or
these
thinking.
Playoffs is any team that puts themselves less so in the Europeans because there's so many playoffs, but when you get to the confederations where these teams are literally just could be 1 point or goal different, 1 or 2 goals short of being automatically in, and they have to go play these really tough qualifying games because you're in 4 days you have to go across the globe. Literally across the globe. Yeah. That's not an easy task, and I feel a little bad for those teams that get knocked out there. Yeah. But speaking of another, inter-confederation match, as it's just launched across, Peru winning. Obviously, we try not to. We pick sides. We definitely pick sides. Yeah. I wanted Peru to win this. Yeah, Peru deserved to be in the World Cup. I was proud. As much as I feel bad for New Zealand for always getting shafted by Oceania, their entire conference not having a guaranteed spot.
Yeah. I mean, Peru did amazing in the South American qualifiers.
Up until the last 2 games.
Up until the last 2 games where they didn't get in. And so you look at them and go, they deserve it. They went and got their results at home. I think the second leg was at home for Peru.
I believe so, yes.
Got a 2-0 win over New Zealand. They're
I believe
through.
both these teams won at home.
Mm-hmm. And so that kind of goes into your thing about maybe the possible jet laggers, different stuff like that. Should these be neutral sites? We've discussed this before when talking about World Cup qualifying versus domestic international cups, regional international cups. Yeah. How
Continental
much?
Cups.
Yeah, continental cups. That's it. How much home field advantage plays into this.
When you get into things like that, the only problem with that is if you're trying to do
it's
a
no
neutral,
fun.
That too, but if you try to do a neutral venue, then it's like, why would you have 2 legs?
Yeah.
First of all, and secondly, you have to pick a spot that is not favorable to either team.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, it makes it hard for any fans of those countries to come, because if we're looking at it and you go, okay, Peru and New Zealand, where are they going to play? They're going to play in like Africa.
Yeah.
And you're just like, their fans aren't going to go there for something that's not a guaranteed World Cup game.
I don't know. It's just like you said, you always feel bad for the teams that lose out in these interconfederation qualifiers. But Peru and Australia are through.
Speaking of games played in Africa, the last 3 teams from Africa, they don't have a playoff. They just had 1 more game left.
2 if you're Senegal.
2 for Senegal, who is through. They had to play the worst team in the group, South Africa.
And they were winning.
Yeah, and they were already ahead. So that felt likely. Tunisia is through. Well, that's a bit of a surprise, but also, as discussed last week, easiest group.
Yeah.
Real easy group. And Morocco.
Beating out Ivory Coast, which I would like to take credit.
I picked Ivory Coast.
And I picked Morocco just to be different.
Me.
Yeah, just to be different, and I was right, so it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, Morocco's good. All of these
solid,
teams are going to be those solid, sneaky teams. Like, if we look back to last World Cup, you had Ghana.
Yeah.
Who, just broke the U.S. heart in the first opening game.
Yeah.
With a late goal and gave pretty much everyone except for Germany. But Germany was exceptional in the last World Cup. A run for their money. They played the U.S. tough. They played Portugal tough.
Yeah. So
I think all of these teams are going to be those teams that you look at them and you're like, okay, we should beat them, but you can't take any of them for granted. And you shouldn't take any team that can qualify for the World Cup for granted, but the African teams are always really physically
difficult
imposing.
to play. Yes. The players are fast, they're strong, they're in shape. You have to out-technical them.
Out-technical.
Out-technical
What a technical term for that.
Yes. Your technique is what wins you those games.
That's why Germany was able to beat them so well, and USA and Portugal, we're talking about Ghana, USA and Portugal, while Portugal is a very good, technically gifted country, USA is not quite as much, but either way, they're not Germany, whose entire game plan is we're going to be by the book and be fantastic. Yeah. And they had no problems with that. Yeah. So now that we actually know all the teams, we can actually look at the pots and see if we were right. So, so we've got the World Cup pots up here. I'm not gonna read through them, but
we were right. We were right. Denmark and Sweden are in the third pot.
Right. Yeah. So give me a team in each pot that you think is the X factor of that one. Obviously, pot 1 is hard because they're all really great. But
yeah, I picked Belgium to win, so Belgium is pot 1 for me.
I want Belgium to win.
Now or never. Now or never.
Pot
2, the sneakiest team in there. Let's see. Well, just running down the list, there's a lot of really good teams in the second pot too.
Yeah.
I would argue that Peru is still one of the sneaky teams because they're definitely not the big ones that jump out at you. The rest of them are really, really solid teams.
The rest of them they're household names.
Yeah. Peru is not, but they're a very good team and they've been playing very well. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. I feel like any group that ends up with Peru might, even though they don't fit your typical standard of a second pot team.
Yeah, I was going to say, the teams in pot 3, you might be looking at that and you're like, hey, we kind of want to draw Peru.
Yeah.
But, again, Peru is a much better team than maybe they've been given credit for.
Yeah.
They're still probably one of the weaker teams.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But that's why we're saying, kind of the dark horse. But the pot 3, you have Denmark, Iceland, Sweden.
Costa Rica. Don't give...
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Don't sleep on Costa Rica.
Egypt, who did very well in their qualifying. You have Senegal, who had a weak group.
Yeah,
but did
they're consistently African competitors, consistently relevant.
But I would definitely argue right now, the pot 3, you don't want to get Denmark or Sweden. Like if you get Denmark or Sweden,
those are the nightmares.
Yeah, those are the.
As far as a sneaky team for me though, Egypt.
Yeah.
Because from the name, anyone who's actually been watching this knows Egypt are a scary team, mostly because of Mo Salah. But, when you hear it, you're like, oh, it's Egypt. Like the casual observer, that's gonna be.
Egypt's not
shocked.
good at football. Yeah.
And then pot 4.
I can't actually see this fourth pot.
Okay, you can't read it, but for me at least, my sneaky team is probably South Korea because they actually play really well, although they are really low ranked in the FIFA rankings. I was shocked.
Technical players, I guess.
Yeah, most of the Asian countries
are
usually really technically gifted as well. So I think that's going to be probably a sneaky team. We'll highlight one team here that you think really needs a good draw, or they're absolutely screwed. We'll say pot 3 because that's going to be the hardest. What team do you think can have a lot of success without with a good draw?
And from pot 3?
Yeah.
Oh,
since you can't see 4.
Iceland.
Iceland. Yeah, Iceland is going to need a draw.
Yeah, I mean, Iceland is a very good team, but if they get a good draw,
if we get a Poland, Peru, Iceland, and Saudi Arabia group,
I call Iceland to win the whole thing. They're going through to the knockout stages. I'd call that right there and then.
I mean, I've already we discussed this before when these were released last night that I want Croatia to draw pretty much like Poland, Tunisia, and Saudi Arabia. Because otherwise, that's going to be any of the teams from the pot 1 other than Poland are almost nightmaric.
Yeah.
Because other than that, the worst team is probably Brazil, but they're fantastic.
I would argue Argentina's the worst one.
Actually, yeah, that's fair. Argentina should probably be in pot 2, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move to a hopefully really quick fire as usual. Devin's got to go to an exam.
Dude, we've got 22 minutes, so 12 minutes.
All right, cool. 3 minutes for each topic. All right, so most of these World Cup related. Actually, pretty much all of these are World Cup related. Biggest World Cup miss out
all of them.
For a team.
All of them.
The ones I have listed are the U.S., Chile, Italy, and Netherlands. Highlight, what do you think the biggest one? Before we were going to say it's probably Chile, but Italy's been added now.
All of them.
All of them? All of the
them.
above?
All of the above.
Anybody not on there that you want to highlight as somebody who should have? Or at least should have gave a better effort? Mine would go to Cameroon, the defending African Cup of Nations champions who weren't even relevant on the last 2 days.
Yeah, so you can add Cameroon to that list, but I mean all of these teams, you look at all these teams, and we've discussed this before, the USA, Chile, and Cameroon all winning their continental cups. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
None of them are in. What's going on? And then you look at Italy and you go, if anyone had told you in the beginning,
storied
history,
and
if anyone had
they
told
haven't
you
missed
when
since the
all of
50s,
this,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, if anyone had told you this was going to happen, that Italy was not going to make the World Cup, and
you would have slapped him in the face.
and you would have been like, so Gigi Buffon's last game is not going to be in a World Cup or big tournament. It's going to be losing a knockout.
After he said he was playing until the World Cup and then he'll retire.
Right.
Yeah, that's a little upsetting. But for me, the Netherlands is honestly not as bad.
No, that one's not as bad.
Because they didn't make the Euros either, and I think them missing the Euros is bigger than them missing the World Cup. Yes, they should still be in the World Cup, as in there's kind of more for them, more opportunity. But
there's less teams in the Euros, less good teams. You kind of bring in some other outside competition.
But they have, they're not good.
They're rebuilding.
When you look at the U.S., you look at their squad, they should be in. Chile, you look at their squad, they should be in. Netherlands probably should be in, but if you look at it, they would probably their squad is probably playoff worthy.
Yeah, they're on the fringe.
And we see Italy. You don't get it done in the group, you could be out.
Yeah.
So for me, Italy is probably the biggest, just from the fact that they haven't missed it since the 50s. We talked about how long it's been since the U.S. missed, but that was only 86.
Yeah.
Italy it was 1958 or 54 or something like that, which is astonishing. But as far as we were looking at the pots before, and again, we don't. The draw is 2 weeks from Friday. Might possibly, stay tuned, put out a show specifically for the draw.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We got some class.
It's at 10 a.m., so I want to do a live show. That's not going to happen. Anyways, what do you think is like the surprise team that could make maybe not just make the knockout stage, but maybe get a little bit further of it?
I would argue any of the teams that we discussed in the third pot that we kind of highlighted, whether that be Sweden or Iceland.
I was gonna say, because mine is Iceland.
Yeah.
Given what we saw from them from the Euros, nobody expected them to make it out of the group stage. But they made it out of the group stage. Oh, and then they knocked out England too.
Yeah.
Now, granted, England is horrible in tournaments, but that's his point.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at Sweden, Denmark, or Iceland. Any of those three teams. Must be something with the Nordic people. But like you look at any of those three teams,
if it's got the cross on the flag, you know.
You know, we look at Sweden and we look at Denmark and go, they just are hitting their stride right now. Denmark wins 5-1. Unprecedented. They shouldn't have won 5-1.
Yeah.
You would look at that draw. Sweden beats Italy to make it into the World Cup.
No matter what the score line is there, because granted that was 1-0 in comparison to the 5-1, but
that's a much harder ask.
Yeah, to beat Italy and make it into the World Cup itself is astonishing, let alone
and then Iceland, I mean, the Euros just speak for them alone. Like,
clap.
Yeah, like what even are they?
I'm just glad we get to see the
their
clap.
Their goalkeeper is like a dentist. He's not even.
I don't think so. I think he was retired after the Euros.
Oh. Well, he was
a
younger
guy now.
Yeah.
He's better than the Hungary goalkeeper who wore like gray sweatpants. Love that guy.
But I feel like any of those three teams are really, really dangerous to like kind of catch some people off unaware.
I think all of those teams can not just make the knockout stage, can definitely do damage in the knockout stage.
Like win at least a round.
Win at least a round, maybe two. Again, draw depending.
Yeah.
But for me, I know for a fact Tunisia was in pot 3. I think a lot of teams are going to overlook them.
Yeah.
And I think maybe not great. Actually, I changed my mind. Egypt's in pot 3.
Yeah.
Egypt is making the knockout stage. I'm calling that now.
Yeah, we forgot about Egypt.
I'm calling that now. I completely forgot about that. But Egypt is making the knockout stage. I'm not even going to try to explain why. Mo Salah is basically the answer.
The Egyptian Messi.
The Egyptian Messi.
All right, Tom. So it's time to do
the underappreciated player.
The underappreciated player. The one that deserves love and doesn't get it. Who is your underappreciated player that is not going to the World Cup?
I'm going to go with an American. Shocking. The American picking an American. Yeah. I'm going with Kellyanne Acosta.
I would actually. That's a really fair.
He's
fair
relatively young. I think he's fairly young. He's like 23, I want to say.
Thereabout.
And he's part of the new look U.S. squad that's going to be coming through. By the time we look at qualification for the next World Cup, it's going to be a lot different squad. They played a youth squad against Portugal the other day, and we won, right? I think it was 1-0, or did we score? I know we scored.
It was a draw.
1-1?
1-1.
Okay, I know we scored. Weston McKennie, of all people, scored.
Yeah.
But focusing on Acosta, he is really good at what I talked about Goretzka last week. He's Kellyanne Acosta, same kind of player, a little more defensive. Obviously not quite as good as Goretzka, but he's very good the ball, controlling the game, and he's lights out at getting back.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic defender.
Work rate is amazing.
Work rate through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good shot. I appreciate that. I got one that you might see coming, you might not. I don't know. I'm gonna go with an Italian player.
Okay. I expected a Welsh player.
Aaron Ramsey.
Aaron Ramsey. There he is.
No. Yeah, no.
It's like your second favorite player behind Sigurdsson, isn't it?
Yeah, really, honestly. No, actually, I was gonna go with Jorginho.
Okay, yeah, that's
from
fair.
Italy.
Yeah.
It was really. It's funny. You look at if you watch the second leg and you look back at the analysis, their chances came from him finding a ball,
which you would not have guessed.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
He was the focal point of literally anything positive that they did. Was the ball came to him and he found a way to distribute it out. And you could look at the pass maps, you can look at positioning, and that's what he was doing the entire time. Is he was just facilitating the team. And
he was playing basically the Messi role. He was
from a much deeper position. Yeah.
A little bit deeper, but yeah.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was doing really, really well, and he's been doing that for Napoli too. And I would argue that's part of Napoli's success this year. You know, you
that and they actually play Insigne.
Yeah.
Got him.
But of course, just not even going to go into the Napoli squad, but I feel like he's a very underrated player, very, very solid. He's kind of that central midfielder that doesn't do anything super amazing.
He's a player who can come on at any point in time and change the game and take control of the game.
Right.
Which is huge. And also, I believe he's not that old. I believe he's fairly young.
Yeah, I do know that he was Brazilian and moved to Italy when he was young.
Yeah, so I believe, Inyo, but so I believe he will be part of the Italy squad trying to get back into the World Cup next in Qatar. Oh boy, that's a whole nother discussion.
Got a few years for that.
But the last one, which I've added on right at the end here, the U.S., as we've beaten to the ground at this point, has missed the World Cup. Election in February for the new president of the United States Soccer Federation, USSF. Way too close to the USSR.
It's like
there's so many names in the pot right now. Anyways, there's so many names in the pot right now. From the current guy who I don't even want to speak his name because he's done horrible things for us, but that's the point. And then we got Eric Wijnaldum, Kyle Martino, former players turned broadcasters. Got a lot of those. Some coaches coming in. Who would you like to see as next?
I do not know enough about this topic. Just flat out. Don't want to give my opinion yet because I don't know enough about it.
I'm going with Kyle Martino or Wijnaldum. The two that I brought up, and I brought them up for a reason. Not just people will look at them and go, broadcasters, why should a broadcaster have this job? But they're former players, and and Kyle Martino said this on kind of like his campaign site or whatever, that right now we have a businessman running it, and he's trying to basically hire actual soccer people to figure it out. And that's the problem. The U.S. Soccer Federation makes so much money, and it has so much money that the money isn't the problem for a lot of countries. Their FA just struggles to pay things. What was it? I'm forgetting now, but it was one of the African countries. They had a ban because the federation just simply wasn't paying the coaches or players because it couldn't afford to.
Oh, wow.
So they stopped playing through this most recent cycle. So the business side isn't the problem. Kyle Martino is really highlighting the fact that you need someone who knows soccer. And play soccer. And if you watch him or Wijnaldum, the two ones that I'm highlighting here is they're broadcasters for a reason. And they're passionate about the game and they understand the game. And you get that when you listen to them talk. And the fact that you can hire a business person to run a business. It's a business. You can hire a business person to run the business side. That's not a problem. And the business side, I don't want to say doesn't need help. Obviously somebody's still got to run it, but that's not where the problem is. The problem is the soccer aspect of it. Just they're not controlling the game right. There's so little youth development. There's such a gap in the fact that basically wealthy kids play soccer in America, which is not what it should be. Soccer is immensely popular in poorer countries is really where it started.
Because you don't need a lot.
Because all you need is a ball and a couple sticks for goals for the goalpost, basically, or even just some lines on a wall. The fact that we have this gap and problem is really the issue, and it's not the business side. So I'm really hoping somebody that cares about the game and former player understand what needs to be done from the soccer side. That'll help. And I think that'll really help us push for the 2022 World Cup.
You've convinced me for now. I need to go look into it myself, but for now,
you've got time. It's not till February.
Yeah, I've got a few months. Got to get through the semester first.
All right, so that is it today. You
have on time.
Yeah, you have 11 minutes to go get to your exam.
The longer you speak, the less minutes I have.
Well, okay, so that is it. Have fun on your exam. That's all for now. Goodbye.